Good afternoon, kids. It's Miss Janell, and I just want you to know that we are still here. And even though we can't meet in person, we who help and teach you at Sunday school, we are all still here and coming up with ideas of how to continue to teach you your Sunday school lessons. So for this week, our thought and our consciousness, that means what's in the front of our mind, is the word humility. That's a pretty big word. And humility is basically knowing that God does for us and gives us all of our gifts. So for example, maybe one of you is really good at drawing. Maybe you're really good at sports, or you're really good with music. And people tell you all the time, you're so great. Wow, I can't believe that you can play that. And I can't believe you can draw that. And that is the best ever. And, when people keep telling us this stuff, we start to feel like, oh, I'm the best. Humility is knowing that the Spirit, God, gave us that gift. And that gift is for us to share out into the world. And so there's nothing wrong with being good at what you do. And the goal is to share it and to know that when you're sharing it, you are helping other people. You're bringing them joy. So, humility, that's the word. And that's what the story is going to be about. Let's see how you tie this humility into this story. All right, so now it's time to circle up. It's time to come to the carpet. And we're going to do the affirmation. And we're going to do it 3 times. And today's affirmation is pretty long, so we're just going to do it in little chunks. Okay? So I'm going to say it first, and then we'll do it 3 times together. The affirmation is, I know that the Spirit of the universe can do great and small things through me. Okay, now we're going to do it together. So say, I know that the Spirit of the universe can do great and small things through me. Let's do it again. I know that the Spirit of the universe can do great and small things through me. Last time. I know that the Spirit of the universe can do great and small things through me. All right, so now we've done our glitter jar, and now it's all swirly, and we're taking some deep breaths, and we're watching the glitter kind of settle down so that we can close our eyes and open our ears, and we can accept the story that's about to be told. All right, guys, take a deep breath in, smell the flower, blow the flower. Let's do that one more time. Smell the flower and blow the flower. Okay, I'm going to read you your story now. The story is called The King Who Wanted to Touch the Moon. Can you imagine that? The moon's pretty far away. Long ago lived a good king named Regis. In his kingdom, there was a young carpenter named Derek who made beautiful wood chests. The chests were sturdy and useful, and he loved to make them. Some of them were plain, but some of them were very fancy. Such as the one that he made for the king. He painted it purple and gold. King Regis was very pleased and declared Derek the royal carpenter. No one knew that that purple and gold chest was destined to become an important part of the king's future. King Regis was not cruel or stupid. He served his country well, and the land prospered. The people worked hard and cooperated with one another. No one went hungry. They were friendly with the neighboring kingdoms, and they kept peace for many years. The king was grateful. His people were happy. Then one day he overheard the cook say to the assistant cook, "King Regis is the best king we've ever had." And the king silently agreed. The next day, the king overheard the gardener say to the assistant gardener, "King Regis is amazing. He can do anything." And the king silently and strongly agreed. These thoughts that he was the best and could do anything filled the king's mind. He became displeased with anything ordinary because the king should only have the best of everything. So his favorite carrot soup was no longer tasty enough, and he would send it back to the cook. The garden no longer seemed beautiful enough, so he ordered that they dig it up and replant it with flowers that would never wilt or die. In fact, the king found it hard to sleep because he worried about staying the best king ever. Each day, he had to find another way to show that he was the best and he could do anything. He paced restlessly back and forth in the silver moonlight. The moon was so bright and silvery, the king wondered what it would be like to touch it. Well, why couldn't he touch it? He could do anything. He immediately ordered the royal carpenter be awakened and brought before him. "What is the fastest way to build a tall tower?" demanded the king when the sleepy carpenter arrived in the royal bedchamber. The carpenter had no idea what the king wanted, but he immediately thought of all the chests that he had made and answered, "Well, if you stack up all the chests in the kingdom, that would make a tall and sturdy tower." "That's a brilliant idea. I want to touch the moon, so begin at once," the king commanded Derek. The carpenter was too astonished to reply. He knew it would be impossible to build a tower tall enough to reach the moon. But he thought it best to let King Regis find out for himself, so he went to work. Every chest in the kingdom was brought to the garden and stacked up. The purple and gold one was the first. It was on the bottom. Then all the other ones were stacked up on top. It was not high enough to reach the moon, so the king ordered the carpenter to make more chests. Derek worked day and night using every scrap of wood he could find and left in the kingdom. And all the new chests were added to the tower of chests in the royal garden. At last, there were no more chests, no more wood. The king announced he would climb the tower that night and touch the moon. Everyone watched in wonder as the king carefully climbed up to the very, 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 very top. When the king stretched out his hand, he stood on the last chest of the tower. The moon was still out of reach. How could this be? He was the best and he could do anything. The king demanded that one more chest be sent up. All he needed was one more. "But there are no more chests, Your Majesty," the carpenter shouted up to the king. "Then take the one from the bottom and send it back up," the king demanded. Derek knew the king's pride had finally made him blind to even the most obvious facts. There was nothing to be done but to do as the king commanded. So the royal carpenter pulled the handle on the purple and gold chest and then ran out of the garden as fast as he could. The onlookers all ran too. Of course, they knew that the tower was going to topple, and of course, the tower toppled all over with a huge crash, filling the garden with chests of every size and color. When every chest had fallen and the dust had settled, the carpenter was afraid to go look for the king. But unbelievably, the king lived. After that, King Regis returned to his royal duties with a very different attitude. One day he overheard the cook say to the gardener, "Our king is foolish, but he is no longer full of pride." And the king silently and strongly agreed. So, remember in the beginning I talked about humility, that you might be really, really good at something, but when you start to think that you're the only reason that you're that good at it, that's when pride comes in. So you no longer feel like I'm just a good person or I just want to do good for others. Suddenly it becomes about you. So here's the questions that I'm going to ask you. Why do you think King Regis wanted to touch the moon? So I think it's because it was the farthest reaching thing that he could think of and he could see. And his pride told him that he could touch the moon, which we all know the moon is very far away. You need a rocket ship to get there. You could not get there and build a tower and get there. It would be impossible. And even if you're the best climber and the tallest in your class, you still can't reach the moon, right? What would you have done if you were the royal carpenter? So the king has now ordered you to give him that last, the box on the bottom, right? So we know if we stack things up and you take something off the bottom, what's going to happen? There's nothing, there's no foundation. So it's going to fall, right? So the carpenter knew this. So in the story, he says that he thought it was best for the king to just find out for himself. Because if the carpenter had said anything to the king, right? King, that's not going to work. Then the king would just have gotten mad because the king assumed that he knew everything. He was the greatest and the best, right? So the carpenter was like, okay. So he just let him figure it out. So maybe you come across a situation where you know maybe one of your friends wants to try something and you've tried to tell them no, like you know it's not going to work, but you got to let them figure it out. Or maybe you've tried something. Maybe your mom said, "I don't think that's going to work, honey." And you decided to try it for yourself and you figure out it's not going to work. And the good news about that is that you learned the lesson, which, as we know, the king did too. And the last one, how do you think the king was different after this experience? And I think that suddenly, even though he still was a really great king, I think he realized that all things are not within reach, the moon, for example. And maybe he needed to find some humility to remember that he was a great king because he was doing for others and not for himself. He didn't demand of others. Remember, in the early part of the story, it said that he was not cruel or stupid, and his country was well and the land prospered. And suddenly, he's ordering the garden be changed and he's ordering his soup go back. So suddenly he was no longer doing for them. He was doing for himself. And when you do for yourself, that's pride. When you do for others, that's humility. So, all right, guys. Well, this is the end of the lesson and it's the end of our time together. So I would like to bless you. And if you want to bless the grown-ups in your house, you can do it with me. And I want to say, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ in you. All right, guys, stay safe. Enjoy your summer. I know that it's different. I know that everything outside is different and all of your summer plans are probably different. So just stay safe and know that we will be together again. We just need to be smart, be humble, and we'll all be together again soon. All right, kids. You have a wonderful summer, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.